In this video, we're going to talk about Apache Sling script resolution, which is one of the most powerful features of CQ. Now, it's also one of the most confusing features of CQ, so bear that in mind. But what Apache Sling script resolution allows us to do is it allows us to take code and use different code based on the URL that we're coming in as. So this is very, very powerful because, for example, I can say, if I have an iPad, I can say, okay, I'm going to pull out different content out of the repository or utilize a different JSP for an iPad device. Or if I have an Android phone, I could pull different content out. Or I can even go to the extent where I pull different content out for a 40-year-old male versus a 22-year-old female. So that's a very powerful function and really allows us to personalize and customize our sites. So let's explore how to do that. Okay, so I think to do that, let's review what we've done so far. So here I am in CRXDE, and of course I have my company page, my products page, and my services page. And my author built all of these pages based on the templates, just as we've learned, right? And of course, all of these pages have a specific URL. And we've gone out and we've accessed that URL. And remember, when we created these, there's a property on here called Sling resource type that you see right here. So it says training, components, page, content page. So what happens is the apps is assumed, it's either apps or libs, and it goes to this folder here called training, then it goes to the components directory, then it goes to the page directory, then of course it goes to content page, because that's where it's pointing to, as you see here, and then the closest and best match based on the selector is this content page.jsp. It's also the only JSP in there, so it's the only possible choice. But one of the other options is you can put multiple JSPs in there to do multiple different things, and then you just go to a different URL to actually pull out that content. So let's look at the content page and see how they designed it in Geometrics. Again, Geometrics is a great sort of model site to explore how things are actually created. Now, you'll see there's also a content page component in Geometrics, and you'll see there's a content.jsp, and then there's a teaser.html.jsp. So again, if you go to that particular URL, it's going to access that script instead of the content.jsp. Okay, so I know this is a little confusing, but let's explore just a little bit more. So I'm going to open up Firefox, and I'm going to be an author here. So here's my training site, and here's my company. And if I click on company, you're going to see here, it of course accesses my content page.jsp, just as we expected, and it pulls the information out of there. Okay, great. Now, let's say we wanted it to create a mobile site and explore how that would work. So for example, if the user came into m.company.html or something like that, we can create an m.jsp. So let's do that and explore how that would actually work. So I'm going to go back to my content page.jsp. And again, it's very confusing because it uses a selector, and you have to name your JSPs based on that selector. So here I'm going to click New, and I'm going to say new.jsp. And I'm just going to call this m.html.jsp, and then I'm going to click Finish. And here's my m.html.jsp, and I'm not going to put any code in here for now. We'll just see if this is actually executed. So here I'm going to say H1, and I'm going to say Welcome to the mobile script renderer, just like you see there. Okay? I'm going to save that. And let's go back in and be an author, okay? So here I'm going to go back to Firefox, and I'll go just close this off, and I'll go into my company page, okay? So again, you'll see the best match in this case, right, based on the company.html is still that content page.jsp. But what happens if I say company, and we utilize a selector here called m.html? Look at that. That executes another script. So if I say company.m.html, right, I could say welcome to the mobile script renderer, and it will then go out and pull the information out that's optimized for a mobile device if we hit that m.company.html. So again, very, very powerful. Another example, just to reiterate that point because it is very confusing, is if I go back to my content page and I create another JSP, and let's say for some reason the user wants to generate a PDF. All right? I could do the same thing here, and I could just say PDF.jsp, okay? And this would create a PDF.jsp, and then I would just add in here the code to create a PDF right inside of JSP. So I would do that. Okay, so now let's try Let's see what happens if I say company.pdf.html. You will now see it goes out and accesses that code, and we now have the code to create a PDF.